CRiiiME is a show where I, Rich Slaton, read a true story about lawbreakers.
With his buddy old pal from Nashville, John Shefsky. Holy shit, I love Nashville.
Nashville's pretty cool. They got hot chicken.
Oh, dude, they got super hot chicken and
They got hot ladies.
hot chicks and hot chicken.
I preempted your hot lady riff because I knew you were going to go there.
You knew it. You said, perving out, that's what John's going to do.
They've got hot weather.
It wasn't that hot. It was actually really nice weather.
It was a little muggy here and there.
Oh, my gosh. It was wonderful. We loved it. Your cousin treated us great.
My cousin treated us great.
We got to have such a good time.
Steven treated us great.
His jambalaya brought tears to my eyes. Steven was great. Our listener, Steven in Nashville.
Shout out, bro.
My cousin played Elton John songs, Bob
Buffalo's
Seger
was
songs.
great.
Buffalo's was great.
That's a bar that you don't get to go to.
Yeah, that's not for
invite only.
That's for
they will
locals
jump you.
only.
They will mess you up.
I don't know
that, or they'll be very welcome.
Did I go to Buffalo's?
You did with me.
Oh yeah, so I got to go to Buffalo's, and it's an exclusive club, guys.
Yeah, I've
always wanted to go.
I don't want to be a part of any club that will have me.
That's right.
You know, I do want to be a part of.
Play the Music Club.
Damn it!
Play the music.
CRiiiME is the show that starts now.
Like right now?
Oh yeah. Do your line.
Okay. Each week, Rich reads a real crime story. I don't know a word that rhymes with story.
And my homie John always has the hot riff. He really loves it when you send.
Don't send anything
them
to me. Don't you dare.
CRiiiMepodcast@gmail.com.
Don't you send
Label
anything.
it John Shefsky. He loves them. Make sure the lighting's really good. Welcome back, everybody. We are so happy to be home in the Comedy Store dungeon where we belong. The sun, the outdoors.
I don't want to be in Nashville.
Yeah, no.
I want to live there. Everybody's so nice.
All the greenery. That was too much.
So green
I
and
prefer
beautiful.
to be under a concrete jungle at the Comedy Store where we belong.
Right where Bob Marley wanted you to stay in the jungle, man. Concrete jungle.
So a little story for you. We on our last day in Nashville, we went to get barbecue, and I got brisket like a gentleman.
Oh, here comes a complaining yelp.
Jonathan Shefsky
Brisket, it was horrible.
got the hot chicken.
It was really freaking
And
hot.
I got in his head when I told him that eating hot chicken right before taking a flight might result in a bathroom emergency. So in a situation like that, you might need coverage from our good friends at
C3 Risk and Insurance Services.
Sometimes, guys, you eat something that's too hot and you get on a flight and you're like, oh, I can't get on this flight.
Yeah.
I might shit my pants.
You need I might poop my pants on a flight insurance.
Or I might miss this flight because I'm in the bathroom at the airport too long insurance.
Totally different policy, just so you guys know.
And for all those insurance needs, go to our buddy Joe Earl at C3 Risk and Insurance Services. Joe's been my friend for a very, very long time. He's a fantastic insurance broker. Here's what he does. He goes out and he finds insurance that's good for you, and he makes that deal happen. And by the way, for those of you who are confused, Joe Earl is licensed in nearly every state in America. I don't know which ones he's not. I'm going to assume Wisconsin. I'm going to assume Wisconsin, but I might be wrong. Maybe he's licensed in Wisconsin. Give him a call at 619-233-8000 extension 151, or go to c3insurance.com to get all your poop insurance needs.
You got to get your poop insurance taken care of, folks. This is no time to waste.
Now,
in times like this, you need your poop insurance.
If you want to hear this ad read about poop insurance in crystal clarity, you should visit our other sponsor, Studio Headphones.
It sounds so good to hear me read ads with Mr. Slaton. He's so mad at me right now.
From Sweden, they provide some great stuff like the Regent, the premium on-ear model with great clarity, beautiful tones, 24 hours of active battery life, 20 days of standby life. And if
you could be lost in the desert and still have headphones. You could be dying and still listen to Macklemore.
And you could still listen to us do poop insurance reads.
That's true. You got to get your poop insurance.
They also have a great cord that doesn't. It's one of those flat cords that doesn't tangle. It's like a tapeworm, but it goes from your ear to your pocket.
It's like a linguini, isn't it? It's a linguini.
It's a linguini cord.
It's a linguini cable. It's the best. You eat it with clams.
You can personalize with interchangeable caps. They have the white and the black, which
thank God they got both. They're both equal too, folks. Just so you know, they're both just as good as the other.
You
You
can go to studio.com, use the promo code CRiiiME with 3 I's for 15% off.
Tell them Shefsky sent you. They love me.
And you can use that 15% you save to join our Patreon Sticker of the Month Club. Every single month, Jonathan Shefsky designs a sticker, and then I tell him that sticker is too dirty or offensive. And then he redesigns it, and we send out a sticker to all of you who join the club.
I work in a graphic design sweatshop.
Every single week, sometimes more often, you get access to a bunch of bonus episodes with Shefsky and I hanging out, doing weird shit.
Oh, man, it's worth paying money just to hear two dipshits talk to each other. I got to tell you, you're missing out. You want to be a fly on the wall for these conversations.
Take those Sticker of the Month Club. You can put them on anything, on your phone, like that, like Beth did with Enterprise when we were in Nashville.
Oh, that was so sweet.
She was super cool. You can put them on your notebook. You can stick them on the face of a person, and if you're in a fight, you can blind them using a sticker.
Oh my God! You can use it. Put it on the side of a vibrator.
You can
man,
also
it looks so cool.
use our stickers to spell out the name of our guest today, a funny comedian,
Hilarious comedian.
one of the greatest Jewish redheads in the history of Jewish redheads, a fantastic piano player.
I've only met a few, but he definitely is one of them.
There's many of them. It's actually historically a thing that Jews have often. We were known for being redheaded biblically. You know what I'm saying, bro?
No, I mean being extremely talented and redhead. There's only Bill Burr, Josh Homme, and our guest tonight,
Jeffrey Baldinger!
Hey everybody, how you guys doing?
I loved watching you just like want to jump in on the ad reads so hard. And that's why I was like, how long can I extend these reads so that Baldinger is stuck in the corner?
That's how we build him up.
I'm
we
just
get him
saying,
ready.
Rich Slaton, you are immaculate at reading those ads. Like that was some of the most pristine ad reading I've ever heard. I've listened to a lot of podcasts, all right, and that, my friend, was one of the best ad reads I've heard in a long time because I felt it. I felt your belief and soul crushing. Like I have to do this.
Well, I'm a method ad reader.
That was the weirdest compliment ever. I was like, he better have something good for me. And now I'm like, I hope Baldy doesn't have anything to say, quote, nice about my ad read. Slayton loves doing the ad reads.
Yeah, I felt like that came from the heart.
It did.
I like insurance.
Which is so funny to me.
I like headphones.
because I could tell that it did come from the heart.
Yeah.
We love doing the ad reads. I think, we learned that from Bill Burr. It's like, you could just have a good time doing ad reads, and actually it's better. It's better.
The stereo of you jumping in was one of my favorite things
Taking
in the world.
hostage
Just
ad
like,
reads?
oh my God, I love this so much.
Well, if you think I was good at reading that, wait until I fuck up at least 17 words over the course of this episode.
Oh, don't worry,
so
Baldinger.
pumped.
We're gonna scold this motherfucker.
Oh, I'm
About
pumped. I'm
Tai
excited.
Do Huang, a.k.a. David Tai.
Say that again?
David Tai was born on January 30th, 1956 in Saigon, South Vietnam, now known as Ho Chi Minh City.
I've heard of it.
Yep.
When he came into the world, Saigon was still known as the Paris of the Far East.
Ah, oui.
Chanté.
Like a some
Crojette.
Thai iced tea and some chow mein with that,
Means,
sir.
Mostly because the
zucchini.
French conquered and colonized the region in 1859.
Oh, did you just want to finish that sentence, little girl? Okay, finish the sentence.
South Vietnam remained under French control until a year before David's birth, which also happened to be the beginning of the Vietnam War.
That's why they have those good sandwiches. The banh mi
What?
sandwich, where you mix Vietnamese food with a French roll, a baguette.
Oh, yeah.
All they had to do was rape and pillage a civilization, and we get those awesome sandwiches.
See, you got to have a plan. And that's how you make good sandwiches. You have a plan.
You gotta break a few eggs.
Yeah, the hoagie, little known fact, the hoagie actually stemmed
Ho
from
Chi Minh City.
Yeah, Ho Chi Minh City. So here's what happened with how the hoagie got developed.
It's a
Is that
mispronunciation.
Europeans came into the Midwest, right? And they took over all this Native American land and initially combined buffalo meat with with recipes from Vietnamese railroad slaves, and it all came together with some nice sandwich goodness. So
You're lying to me.
I don't think so at all.
I actually did read that as well. Exactly. He was reading from a article that he wrote earlier.
Bruh, I know facts, dog.
Is that true, though?
When David was 9 years old, the first American ground troops set foot in the country and everything changed. The city was soon crammed with rural peasants fleeing the fighting or looking for work.
Nice.
Beggars lined the streets during the day, replaced by rats at night, who swarmed over huge mounds of garbage left behind by sanitation workers who quit their city jobs for better paying work at U.S. military bases.
What's the pay? Do you know what the pay difference was? Like, how much better pay was
He
it?
usually is pretty on
I
top
mean, it was
of his
probably like,
accounting.
instead of 2 lashes, you only got 1.
Okay.
That's what I'm guessing.
All
Something
right.
like that.
It's like, juice worth the squeeze sort of thing. Like, how much better is it, really?
Well, if you work at the military base, they give you the bread, but they don't carve out like the actual bread part inside. It's crust and bread, not just crust.
That's nice.
Sounds miserable.
You remember when people were like, oh, you got to eat the crust because it's the healthy part?
Yeah.
Of the bread. That's so it's so ridiculous because it's all just bread.
It's just the gross part of the bread.
Crust isn't the gross part of the bread. Crust is
You
great.
Animal. Depends on what crust.
Oh, sure. It
It's
depends
all the
which
same.
bread. I mean, some bread
Dutch
sucks.
crust?
Crust is no healthier than the rest of the bread.
I thought Dutch crust was when you haven't taken a shower
Yeah,
for a
how do
few
you
weeks.
get healthier than perfectly healthy, the best food you can eat?
It's not. You can't get healthier. It's
Guys,
the best thing.
CRiiiME is going to endorse bread as the number
Support
one
your
thing you
local
should eat.
bakeries. Eat bread.
I love bread. It's too many carbs, but I love it.
A cottage industry popped up to entertain American GIs looking to blow off steam. Trong Minh Gian Street was a smaller, seedier Las Vegas full of neon lights, nightclubs, booze, drugs, and prostitutes.
Is this where all the scenes are "Me Love You Long Time" from like Full Metal Jacket? Is that where it's filmed at?
I think so.
This is it.
That would make sense.
Oh my gosh.
I also don't know
Take
if I
us
pronounced
there,
that right,
Slaton.
but I went for it.
I'm gonna close my eyes. I'm gonna go through a little bit. I want to
Paint
pretend
us a
like I'm in the
picture.
story. Yeah.
Paint us a picture
I'm a
like you're John
soldier.
Shefsky painting a show.
I'm a soldier. I survived something, so I'm excited right now. And I've got $20 American in my pockets. I would like to go out and get some Vietnamese food and maybe meet a nice lady. Give me the story. Go.
Hey, mister, do you want drugs and pussy?
I like a little bit more romance than that, but I'm not gonna say no.
Come this way.
Yes, sir.
Like many
Or
boys
yes,
his
ma'am,
age.
or whoever, whatever. Yes, everybody.
No, yes, sir is important because like many boys his age, David made money as a go-between, helping soldiers find ways to satisfy their many vices.
Oh, so he'd come up like
a pimp or something.
Not a pimp, more like
a broker.
a gopher.
He was like an intern,
Okay.
but he was like a paid intern for soldiers in Vietnam.
I would say, yeah, he would
Like,
he would
he
run up to you and
helped
be like,
them get-
"Mister, you looking for some cigarettes and some ladies?"
I
you
can
want
get you
booze?
anything. I can get you this. I can get you that. He's the guy.
And just sign this paper so I get college credit.
All right.
Yeah, exactly.
I dig it. I had a job like that back in college.
Things got worse after his birthday in 1968 when the North Vietnamese launched the Tet Offensive, hammering the city with rockets and sniper fire. The next day, a South Vietnamese general executed a Viet Cong captive in the middle of the street. The photo of the shooting is possibly the most famous of the entire war.
Oh, it's brutal. It is a brutal photo. Oh,
So-
it's burned into my
So
skull.
for those of you who don't know this, and I'm saying Jonathan Shefsky,
How dare you? I went to
this-
community college for several weeks.
this was a proxy
I remember
war.
that.
This was a proxy war between communist forces like Russia and so on and so forth, and Allied forces. And North Vietnam was supported by the communists, and South Vietnam supported by the Americans and Westerners.
Ain't that always the way? The
Yeah.
North is always supported by the communists. The South are always supported by the Americans.
Yeah, and that's why it's so shocking that the North won the Civil War here in this country.
I know.
Are we a
Communists.
communist country? Is it that TV show, The Americans?
That's why the North won. They were unified.
I thought they were just closer to Canada. They were more down to earth. They had better flannels.
Yeah,
right?
well, that's true too.
Our pancakes are better, right?
It was clear the war had reached new heights of brutality. By the 70s, everyone could see that South Vietnam was on its last legs.
And the Rolling Stones were making those good songs, right?
When
I
American
can't
troops
get no. Dun-dun-dun.
No, the one that's in all the movies, the war movie song.
don't
Just
know.
a shot away. It's just a shot away.
Nailed it.
I can't go that high.
You did, though. You went pretty- you
I
went
didn't.
pretty high.
My head almost exploded just now.
By
A sight to see.
It's
It was
just a
nice.
shot away. It's just a shot away. Yeah.
By the 70s, everyone could see that South Vietnam was on its last legs.
Why'd you start reading like a 1920s newspaper guy? By the 1970s, you could tell that the South Vietnam was on its last legs.
When American troops began to
Whoa.
withdraw, the wartime economy of vice tourism collapsed as well.
Vice was around back then? Wow. Hipsters, they always pop up in history books.
As the war drew to a close in 1975, Vietnamese scrambled to evacuate the city. Before the city completely fell to the communists, David's father pulled his last strings to get his son on a U.S. chopper heading for an American aircraft carrier in Hong Kong.
Did he do it Arnold Schwarzenegger impression? Get on the chopper, but like with a Vietnamese accent?
Get on the chopper! Because they're all French.
Are they French?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
but
how it was started.
Have you never been to a nail salon? That's how every Vietnamese person speaks.
I've never walked into a nail
Hello, I would like to give you a pedicure.
Get to the chopper.
Oui, your cuticles look like a shit.
Take off your shoes. Let me see your feet.
It's a little Vietnamese lady talking to you like that. Ah, those are very ugly toes, and you have a
Would you like to
scrawny
eat
heel.
fromage courgette, which means cheese and zucchini?
David's father gets him on the aircraft carrier, and then he was sent to a North Vietnamese re-education camp.
Oh, that sounds like really scary and bad.
Yeah, I put in air quotes for re-education.
Did they beat him
for those
up
of
and
you.
did they kill him, or did they just brainwash him?
No
until-
idea what happened to him.
Oh God! Why do we do this in this race of humans?
3 months later, 19-year-old David found himself at a boys' home in Lafayette, Indiana.
Oh hell yeah!
How did he get there?
That's where he got put when he was as a refugee coming to the States.
All right.
He's 19 years
Indiana.
old. Yeah.
Is this the story of Bobby Lee?
Yes. Yes, it is.
This is how he came to our country and made it in comedy.
Korean, but not a big deal. It's fine.
I thought
there's
that
a
would be the
north-
twist.
There's a
That'd be the
north
twist.
and a south too. In,
That's a very good point.
so
Not for long, buddy. It's going to be one
right.
country. We're
Merging.
making progress.
Korea. You know what's going to be funny when by the time this episode comes out, the whole deal's falling apart and we're
Oh,
at war.
don't say that. No,
Come
we're
on,
doing
guys.
good. They're gonna. Everyone's
It
gonna
was
be
a
cool.
culture
Everything's
shock for
fine.
David, especially since most locals failed to differentiate between the Allied South Vietnamese from the enemies in the North.
Yeah, how do you
Do you
differentiate?
think he-
What are they
Do
wearing?
you
Well, but
think
I'm-
he knew David Letterman?
Probably.
So they were in Indiana.
Yeah,
as
I
well.
almost assuredly
Jim
did.
Gaffigan as well.
Do you think he wrote the show Erie, Indiana?
Do you think he was in Hoosiers?
Gary, Indiana.
Do you think he's a big
Gary,
fan
Indiana,
of
Gary, Indiana.
Gary, Indiana, Gary,
Let me say it once again.
Gary, Indiana, Gary, Indiana.
Gary, Indiana. Something about else. Music Man, trombones
the
and shit.
Wells Fargo wagon is a coming down the street. Oh, please let it be.
Were you in
for
that
me.
play?
No, but
I
could
was
be.
cast as Harold Hill, but my grades were so bad that I couldn't do it. So they downgraded me to Marcellus Washburn, who has one song, Shapoopy, and they cut it because it was inappropriate for elementary school kids.
Oh, such a
Shapoopy.
great
The
name.
girl's hard to get.
Shapoopy.
Now, here's the real tragedy. I could sing. The guy who replaced me could not sing. So the
Such
whole
a
thing fell
tragedy.
apart. It
I
all fell
sang the
apart.
Wells Fargo wagon in my 4th grade choir, though.
I like that. I
And
know you. I could see you in
was,
choir.
I was making fun of the whole spiel, and everybody in the audience was like, "Oh, he's so engaging and energetic." My mom was like, "He's being an asshole."
So here's the thing about the South Vietnamese, North Vietnamese thing. You couldn't like visually go which one's which, but people in Indiana were just like, "Oh, you're Vietnamese. That means you're the enemy." They didn't go like, "Oh, half of them were our friends." They were just like, "Oh,
In America, they felt like that.
yeah."
Well, at least we've grown out of that type of thing.
Of course, we're so more enlightened now.
I don't know about that.
I'm pretty
we've gotten
sure
better.
we are
the
very nuanced in our criticisms of all people.
But I think we've made at least a 5% improvement as the human race, right?
Growing
at least 5%.
tired.
In what sense? In what scale is 5%?
I don't know. I said I went to 2 weeks of community college, but I'm just saying I feel 5% better.
All right.
Growing tired of corn-fed white boys blaming him for the death of their relatives in the war,
Corn-fed white boys, what, like me?
David decided to leave
Oh, where'd he go?
Where'd he go?
Vietnam.
with $150 in his pocket.
How
one
did he
is
get
the-
$150?
You suspicious white man. Let the Vietnamese kid get his money however he gets it. Leave him alone.
He boarded a
Did he
bus
have a job?
to.
Did he work somewhere in Indiana?
Well, I don't know. I don't know where he got it, but he boarded a bus to New York City.
New York City. You make it there. You make it anywhere.
Oh yes, I am here to make it. It's going to be fantastic.
Is this before
I am
or
picturing
after?
a Frenchman right now.
I am a Vietnamese person. Can you not see?
Now, what year is this? 78, 79, 80?
This is right around. This is early 70s. Working as a waiter, busboy, and dishwasher in various Manhattan restaurants, including the famous Rainbow Room.
You know, that's Andy
nice.
Kaufman also worked as a busboy in a restaurant.
Oh, good.
To escape his fame.
Oh, excellent.
Oh, you mean after he's famous, he already did that?
Mm-hmm.
Looking to move up in the world.
I've seen the movie so many times, I can't remember what
David
happened.
enrolled at NYU, where he met a girl, another Vietnamese refugee. They married in 78, and
they
soon
turn out
she
to
was
be-
pregnant.
Oh, man. Was it one of those like, oh, we like each other, but it turns out we're related?
No, there's a lot of people in Vietnam.
Oh.
Everyone knows this is pop culture knowledge. There's 43 people in Vietnam. Chances are you're having sex with your cousin.
You never know. That happens to Jews all the time.
It's so fun.
People inbreed. I mean, it's an accident, right?
Yeah, well, you'd hope it's an
If
accident.
your sister's not hot, it's easy to say, "Hey, I would never have sex with my sister." You wait till you have a hot sister. I'm telling you, wait till you have a hot sister.
The couple dropped out of school and moved into a studio apartment in Hell's Kitchen.
Ooh, you know, that's where Daredevil lives.
What?
Yeah.
Shocker.
Wait,
It's the
is this-
coolest name for a part of town.
It quickly became clear that restaurant work would not earn enough to support a family, even when cramming into a one room in a bad neighborhood. To supplement his income, David spent his spare time making counterfeit watches.
That sounds
Those
cool.
Rolexes, like faux Lexes?
Using cheap imports from China, David stamped them with logos from major brands like Rolex and Movado,
Called it.
sold them to local merchants who then moved them for around $25 a piece.
Okay, so this is those people on the streets when you're like buying like a DVD of Batman, but it's like someone filmed it. Remember that someone did that?
No, this is
One of our
this is
friends had
actually
that.
like you can like shops and stands that were straight up selling his fake
Oh.
Rolexes and stuff.
Yeah, like kiosks. Like
mean,
yeah.
they still got those, like fake Rolexes, fake Oakleys, fake sunglasses, all that stuff.
That's
Oakleys,
fucked up.
Foglexes, Fovados,
But they
Fords,
admit
which,
it now.
It's
They're
not-
like, these aren't real.
It's not that bad when it's like a watch because you're like, well, I mean, it sucks, but you spend $25, you know, you're not getting a Rolex. You know, it's when they do it. They actually do that with bike helmets. They had a scare with that where you could buy a bike helmet and think it was
And it was
tested
just
as
like
Well, a
pastrami.
significant fun fact, significant fortune
You just
of,
put a pastrami sandwich on. You're like, this rye bread actually saved my life. You should always wear your helmet.
Hey, man.
It's a Reuben.
It's a Jewish bacon.
You have sauerkraut and ranch and Thousand Island on your head. You're like, I'm so glad my dad always taught me to wear a helmet. What are you gonna
Always
say?
wear a helmet.
Before long, David was spending more and more time in lower Manhattan on Canal Street, right in the heart of Chinatown. For a young man with malleable ethics looking to make a dollar, Chinatown presented opportunity, but it also had rules. There was no law breaking outside of the strictly organized crime.
The
Al
strictly
Capone.
organized
Crime! So in 1983, David Tai became a member of the Flying Dragons, one of the biggest gangs in Chinatown.
I remember them.
But there was one small problem. David was not Chinese.
Ooh.
While he was allowed to join the gang, opportunities were limited. He and other Vietnamese members were corralled into a smaller Vietnamese unit of coffee boys.
Why do they call them that? Because Vietnamese iced coffee is the best, isn't it, though?
That's the reason.
I like it better even than Thai tea, but I eat both of them too much caffeine for me and sugar.
Being a coffee boy was like being a poorly paid intern, except in addition to running errands, they were also forced into the most dangerous and deadly assignments.
So they got like second-class status?
Yeah, because they joined the Chinese gang, but they weren't Chinese.
But
This
other
is
than their
that- So
race, though, what about their character?
They
and,
come in
like-
with their
This is that
super... Well, no,
inner-
race is all that matters, please.
This is that inner
This is America.
Asian racism that you hear about, where like Asians like don't like other
Chinese and
And then it
Vietnamese
works
have a long-standing
Yeah.
animosity, too.
But it's like it works its way back all the way up the system to where it's just like you like one sibling better than the other.
Well,
You're like, you're more of mom's side of our
Right.
Chinese DNA to this point.
Well, here's the thing
decimal
about the
point.
Chinese, they
It's
really
like,
about the
where does he
Vietnamese
slow
too.
down? Huh?
Is the Chinese really hate that Vietnamese accent. They're like, when,
they really?
when a Vietnamese person comes in and goes, "Oh, I am here to help out with your gang," the Chinese are like, well, he does not have a proper Chinese accent, so he's gone.
It's kind of
Your
like
idea of Chinese and Vietnamese people, I don't know what the characters are in your
you
head,
know
but
what it's like. It's like American, British, and Australian.
that's right. All those black people,
Yeah.
they're so same, but they're also
The
different.
British are all like proper and stuff like that, and then the American is like not, and then the Australians are also not proper.
So British is the only way.
Yeah.
You're a British elitist.
But David was
That's
smart.
what they said, not me. I didn't say that. They said that.
So while being a coffee boy was the hardest, most dangerous assignment, David was smart, avoiding the worst jobs while biding his time to make his move.
Did they drink a lot of coffee while they did this so that they could make sure they were like lived up to their name of being a coffee boy, like fast talking?
Cocaine. In 1987, pieces began to fall into place for David's master plan.
Well, wait, what was his master plan?
You know what? Let's not even talk about it. Why would I even bring it up?
Slaton, show us the fucking go on with your story and tell us the master plan.
Two
What is
major
the master plan? Can you tell us the master plan?
You know what? I don't want to now.
Why?
Because
Did the master
You
not
piqued
plan?
my interest. Is this like a golfing
you know what?
thing?
Let's skip to the end. And then David Tai died. The end.
my
Goodbye,
God.
everybody.
Wait, he's
That
not
was
alive anymore?
That's insane.
Oh,
Wait, when did he die, though?
yesterday.
Oh,
Really?
right
We
before
just-
he
that's why I wrote
recorded.
this. Yeah.
Wow. Could we have
Shit.
gotten him as
Well,
a
that's why I'm
guest?
doing this recording now, so I can go and do his funeral tomorrow.
You know, also,
Genius.
does he have any posthumous work?
Two major Chinese gangs, Ghost Shadow and United Bamboo.
Is that two Wu-Tang members too?
The,
Yes.
Wait, is the United
What's up? I'm
Shadow-
Ghost Shadow, and I'm
They-
United Bamboo.
United, they started an airline.
Yes.
Boom, 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 boom.
Both those gangs had recently taken big hits
Ghost
from law
Shadow coming
enforcement.
straight at you. United Bamboo coming out. You know, I heard United Bamboo actually died recently. The member of the Wu-Tang Clan.
Really?
Chopped his own nipples off.
They left a void that David, with his already successful fake watch business, was ready to fill. The only thing he needed was manpower.
Sexy, dripping with sweat.
It's my favorite kind of power.
Shoveling coal.
Manpower.
He's shoveling coal into like a big chamber that's on fire.
Power
while you're in
Man,
Daisy
Luke
Dukes.
Cage.
Manpower.
In 1988, David called for a sit-down of high-ranking members of what was then known as the Canal Boys, named after their hangouts on New York's Canal
The
Street.
Canal Boss. Ooh, 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 ooh.
They started in Italy, right? In Venice.
We're the Canal Boys.
Yeah.
And we're here to do crime. Everyone wants to see us all the time. If you want a fake watch, come to me. Or see my friend Jonathan Shefsky.
They're the crime boys.
You are out of the barbershop group. The barbershop triplet.
bum.
which
I
we
don't want
were-
to get hair all over my shoes, bitch. Be in the group yourself. I'll go start a fucking a bath time boys group. We'll sing in the bath.
It's the bath time boys.
So here's the sit down. 20 young Vietnamese gangsters with nicknames like Black Eyes, Monkey Man, Teardrop, and Amigo.
Are you saying black eyes or black guys?
Black Eyes.
Okay.
You think black guys were coming and there's like one Vietnamese guy? But he's
I
still
don't know,
dangerous.
His nickname.
He's in a gang.
You don't know what nicknames
He's
come
still
from.
scary. You don't need two of anything when you're scary.
They all
true.
gathered in a small dim sum restaurant. David make his argument.
And dim some more, Will and Grace.
Think of what we have here as a business, not a gang.
Oh, that's the very professional of them.
Recruitment was easy. Young Vietnamese men had few options in New York. As the newest immigrants to the city, there were few social services for the Vietnamese. There was no established history of renters or property owners willing and able to provide affordable housing. the Chinese who controlled the Asian parts of the city viewed the Vietnamese as an underclass due to a mixture of historical animosity and the image of the Vietnamese as violent savages from the war.
Wow.
You know, I used to live over in Thai Town.
Yeah.
Good story.
Thank you.
Word got round that David Tai was the man to go to for help.
David Tai could be anyone. You know what I mean? That could be anybody's name.
Whenever he met a new refugee...
I mean, that's true about most names.
That's a good point. I retract my
Jeffrey
statement.
Baldinger could be anybody. John Shefsky, I know at least 17,000.
Wow, I feel very unique right now.
As you should, but also very special because you're the only you that there is.
Whenever David met a new young man, he started with the question, have you eaten? He offered food, money, and advice to all. But to the more ambitious, he offered opportunity.
So he was nice to these people.
He was
that
like
was
a
just his
Capone level gangster. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was he nice to be nice, or was he just trying to?
Could there be an
figure out who-
Untouchables movie about him?
There should be a little bit of both to answer your question, Jonathan David Chesky.
Okay, that's
He
getting
was
weird now.
He
Jonathan
offered
David
he offered help kind of
Tomaszewski.
across the board to new people coming in, and so some people would just go along their way, and the ones who really kind of like he took a shine to, or he seemed like they had more of a criminal element, he would start incorporating them into what he was doing. So some people just got a meal and some advice and went on their way. Some people ended up becoming watchmakers for his illegal watch business.
Oh, yeah.
And some people ended up joining up and like becoming part of the Canal Boys.
I was like,
Was
yeah.
he more of a Capone or was he more of a what's his face?
I don't
more of
know
a what's his face.
What's his face? Is that from Dick Tracy?
Yeah, no, that's
One of the characters?
No. That's
Prune
who's
Face.
his hand.
That's Prune Face.
Yeah.
Prune Face was Dick Tracy's villain.
By now, David had expanded his operation as nearly every stall on Canal Street sold his product. In 1988 alone, he sold over $13 million in merchandise from his offices
Whoa.
in the back of Canal Street's Asian shopping
How
mall.
old was he at this time? 50?
No, much younger. This is 88, and he was born in 56.
So it's like 20.
So, yeah,
he's like 20 something
yeah,
years old.
He's almost 30.
That's
I mean,
great.
Or he's just past 30.
He's
Sorry,
doing
he's 32.
well.
He's 32.
He's doing all right.
well.
He's
He's
doing good.
He's doing
good.
okay.
32? I know math.
He's selling a few.
He's all right.
He's got a
doing
few.
just fine.
You know, he's paid
got
a few bills.
He's got a
you
few
know.
eggs in the hedge house. He's got a few chickens in his
A
coop.
few watches are out there. that he-
He's filling up his
I'll be
gas
back, guys. I'll
tank
see you
with,
later.
He's got a few
worried about
laces
paying
in his
anything
shoes.
off.
He's
I'll check
tying
in
up
about an
his
hour to
shoes.
see if this is
He's
over.
got a car and
He's got a
car. And it gets bad gas
pans
mileage.
on his fire.
The NYPD caught wind of his operation and began to show up for surprise visits. David had his underlings do everything to give them a hard time.
Underlings? Is that some sort of racial term, Mr. Slayton?
I think it's
Exclusively.
more like garments, like underling potatoes, like garnishes. You
I thought
know?
it was those things that hang off when you're wearing a garter belt. Those are the underlings.
Those-
they
the
dangle until you
underling-
clip
What kind
them.
of belt was that? A garger belt?
A gar-
Did I catch you in a
a
mispronunciation?
I said garter belt. I
Did
just
you
had a
just
bubble in my
garter-
throat.
Did you just get ruined?
I just
Like
had a
a
bubble in my
destroyed-
throat.
like a
I'm being-
cummerbund.
I'm being judged.
Once as uniformed
I
officers
judge you innocent.
gathered in front of his office,
Gracias, mi amigo.
members stood on the roof and pelted them with strings of lit firecrackers.
That's a very Chinese thing to do. I've never been to
Which
Chinatown.
they're
I don't know.
but,
I don't think you should stereotype like that.
They're Vietnamese.
But that's why I
Different
was thinking.
country.
I was like, that's racially. They're appropriating. Those Vietnamese people should be ashamed of
Ooh,
themselves.
Yeah, appropriating fireworks.
Don't steal from the
No,
Chinese.
good. You
They-
shouldn't.
They're our brothers, huh?
We owe
brothers and
them
sisters.
so much.
'Cause our
When the
planet
police-
together.
Trillions of dollars.
When the police cracked down with more raids, one of David's men went
say
to the station.
raids?
Raids.
Or rains.
Raids.
Rains?
Raids.
What is he saying?
When the police cracked down with more raids, one of David's men went to the station house, found a police van with an open window, tossed in a bomb.
Did people die or not, Slayton? Get to the point.
The Chinese gang leaders had avoided open confrontation with the police. David Tai was not Chinese.
Oh, fuck.
But we already knew that, though.
Oh, did you?
You
How?
said it. You said,
said it in the
earlier.
story.
You said it like at the beginning
But
of the
now,
story.
but
Yeah. So wait, are we?
so,
this
but
was
now the
big
police know that
reveal?
he's not Chinese, and that's an important thing. They're like, oh,
Yeah, the police are like, wait.
You're not Chinese?
There are Asians who aren't Chinese.
yes. Johnson, get in here. Are you telling me this guy you've been looking at isn't Chinese?
You know, I can't really tell, but if you say so.
I mean, it's in the 80s, too, so they're like, he's Asian. 80s in Indiana, they're like,
That's
Asian.
Chinese.
Hey,
but they're not in Indiana.
What kind of
anymore.
Chinese
They're
are you? Are you
New
Vietnamese
York,
Chinese?
sorry.
Are you Japanese
Laos.
Chinese?
Laos, Laotian.
Are you a Korean Chinese?
What Chinese are you? Or
It's
when
like
you say
when you ask for a Coke in Texas, they're like, "What kind of Coke do you want?" You know, I want
A
a Pepsi.
drink.
What kind of Chinese you looking for?
yeah. You Mexican? Oh, cool. You said you're Peruvian, right? What part of Mexico is that?
By June of '89, David was the biggest name in the Vietnamese underworld.
He's a popular guy.
89. You know, I think that's when Taylor Swift was born.
He called another meeting of the leaders of nearly every Vietnamese gang in the city. Over 70 men dressed in black suits with black sunglasses, most of which remained on inside, sat for a feast hosted by David Tai.
What'd they have? Was it good? Was it Chinese food?
Yes.
Was it really?
It was general. It leaned Chinese because there weren't many Vietnamese restaurants that could accommodate that many people.
It was P.F. Chang's.
Yes, it was
It
P.F.
was next
Chang's.
to a Target and an Applebee's and a Payless shoe source.
Behind the head table, a banner hung from the wall. It showed a stencil of a coffin with 3 candles sitting on the lid and the letters BTK engraved on the side.
What? Is this about the BTK killer?
Even before David got up to speak, the purpose was clear. Their former gangs were no more. They would all be united under this new flag. The candles on the coffin would be the logo, signifying that they didn't fear death. The letters BTK were well known to every single man in the room,
What the fuck? Should I know them? Did you already tell us what they are?
as they stood for a slogan American GIs used to write on their helmets and vehicles during the war.
Oh.
Ironic, yet perfect. They would be known as Born to Kill.
I was gonna say that. I was definitely gonna say Born to Kill.
I mentioned, what do you call it? The Kubrick movie.
Everybody's
Our Full Metal
born
Jacket.
to run.
And they have BTK on or they have Born to Kill right on their helmets.
Born to Kill. They have one with the peace sign and the FU. The
Yeah.
flipping. You know, it's the dichotomy,
What a time to be alive.
right?
David gave a 10-minute speech outlining his vision. I'm going to try this because this is all a transliteration.
Do it in an accent.
Con King Kong Convoi, which I totally mangled that. It's a Vietnamese saying that means essentially by sticking together, the tiny ants can carry the elephant.
That is a good motivational speaker right there.
True. Ants are very strong. You know.
He's the
They can-
Vietnamese gangster Tony Robbins.
They can lift 10 times their own body weight. Apparently.
The only condition for membership
Vietnamese
was
people?
signing an
No
agreement.
ants.
Also, Vietnamese people, though, can lift 10 times their own body weight. Little known fact.
It's very heavy, but I'm off ground.
I have lifted this car up over my head.
Oh, yes, I forgot that a Frenchman can also lift up cars and things 10 times his body weight.
No, Vietnamese people.
We Vietnamese
That's
people
not a French accent,
sound
it's a
like this.
Vietnamese accent.
I'm afraid you might offend my friends in France as well, my friend.
The only condition for membership was signing an agreement outlining the rules for BTK. 1. Gang members would not betray each other in any way. 2. They would never cooperate with the police. 3. If a member left, he would be required to scrape off his tattoo and leave New York City forever.
Go back to that part for a second, sir, before I sign. What do you mean, scrape off my tattoo?
You know, just like getting a little snowboarding or skateboarding accident, get a little road rash, and then your tattoo's gone.
Would you
real
be
easy.
able to?
That's hard to plan.
Would you be able to remove your tattoo like surgically, or would you literally have to scrape it off?
You know, I didn't specify which one you went with.
Like, could you book? If let's say you gave them your 3 months notice.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna leave, but I'm leaving in 3 months, and you started your laser removal treatments that day. And you're like, in 3 months, it'll be gone.
In 3 months, I'm out. I'll stay in
done.
until
Yeah.
3 months from now.
It's not a color tattoo; it's just black and gray.
What if you just like tattooed over the tattoo?
Oh yeah, you get like an anvil or like a
You know,
Grim
something
Reaper, or
like
something.
that, where you just like you make it so you can't see the tattoo anymore.
a black heart, maybe the Black Flag logo. I don't know.
Fourth and finally, any criminal act taken by a member had to first be clear with the local underboss or die low.
That's how mafias always operate.
Yeah.
You don't do bad stuff unless
You gotta
we
get
say
permission.
you can do
You
it.
gotta get permission.
Yeah.
You gotta get approved by the boss.
You gotta ask
This
the
one's unique, though.
boss.
'Cause out of organized crime, the idea that you are allowed to leave the gang is... I've never seen that before for an organized criminal organization.
Oh really?
I've never heard, I've never read of like, oh, you're able to leave.
You can't go clear or whatever they call it.
can't-
That's the
you're
out. Going
out.
clear is actually getting in rather
Oh,
than
really?
out. Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
Isn't it?
You gotta get out. It's
Blood in, blood out, right? The bloods get out. Blood in, blood
Yeah,
out.
the only way to leave is getting taken
Although in this
out.
one, it's just get your tattoo off and then
Tattoo
move to
removed.
Milwaukee.
Yeah.
So
You can never be in New York because you just moved to New Jersey.
yeah, just don't go to New York City.
New York, so you could go to like Albany
Oh yeah,
or
of
Utica.
course. Yeah,
Yeah,
Syracuse.
Rochester.
You go anywhere you want, except for Florida. No one wants to go there.
Except
Yeah,
for
you
you, can't go to
go there.
Manhattan.
You can go to
Did
Nashville.
You go
That'd be
to,
fun.
So New York City.
No,
Did you go to Brooklyn?
No boroughs.
No
boroughs
okay.
are out.
Okay.
Are-
Okay.
is there
even
any-
Long Island?
I mean, yeah, probably it's close. I mean, there's a subway stop. You know,
Is there
Yeah.
any Vietnamese mafia in Alaska?
probably.
What about
not.
Staten Island?
Did you say probably and then not?
Yeah, I did this. I did say that.
I liked your timing on
Staten
that.
Island. There's a bridge.
Yeah, but
It's close. Isn't there a
gotta
subway stop?
take
that
a
goes-
ferry.
Don't you go out to? Oh, you have to take a ferry out there.
a ferry.
What? Well,
Any direct easy mass transit, any commute spot other than
Okay.
Jersey.
All right. Okay.
That's the rules that I've now set are the rules.
are you planning on leaving the gang of comedy? Because
Look, I'm
you're
not
looking for places to go.
I just am looking for a way to get my tattoo removed
With
easily.
the contract signed?
I know a guy.
It was time for BTK to make an entrance.
Go all Star Wars on your ass. Just
Members dressed in black with spiky hair and bright tattoos
like
began to
Johnny
rock.
Cash.
It was like a gang of Guy Fieri's, but Vietnamese.
No, like if-
Spiky hair
okay,
and flame
take
tattoos,
the
and they
image-
eat a lot of chili dogs.
Take sort of like
They
the
wear
John
ugly
Woo image of an Asian gangster in your head.
Yeah.
That's what all these guys look like.
Okay.
Like they dress all like black suit, black shirt, or white shirt, spiky hair, sunglasses on inside.
Dorky yet fully intimidating. You're like,
They wear their
can you imagine getting your hand cut off by some guy like that? You're like, he looks so silly.
I imagine
Actually,
it
they
every
look really
day.
scary.
That's part
I
of your
imagine it every
fantasies.
single day.
You have an amputee fantasy. I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
triggered that.
It's
All right, go
okay.
on with your story, Slaton.
It
So these
happens.
super cool dressed guys
Dorks.
start robbing Chinese protected businesses,
Do they have chain wallets?
most of which had illegal operations in the back.
So these guys are Vietnamese, and they've started their own. They've started their own gang to oppose the
Chinese. Yep.
Is the Chinese the triads?
There's triad connections, but it's the Tongs. It's
Okay.
that's like the local Chinese gangs are different. They're called Tongs.
Okay.
And then there's also the smaller gangs, which
Any relation to like the appliance tongs?
yes, specifically, that's
Yeah?
where it came from.
That's where it came from.
Hey,
Ah,
hey.
very nice.
Yes, because Chinese gangs like to pick things up and move them around,
Papa Slaton.
and
What
so
do you mean
Tongs
pick
are like
things up?
like with their hands, like grab them and then move them somewhere else. That's most of Chinese crime, organized crime, is just moving stuff from place to place.
Snap.
So tongs, which we use to grab things, that's where it comes from, picking things up and moving them around. Yes,
I
Jonathan
get it.
Shefsky,
That
your
makes-
question.
that
What?
makes sense.
You have got to be kidding me. You're fucking lying.
Of course I am
You're
not.
looking at me in the eyes with the serial killer eyes again.
What's your question in the back?
I don't remember now. You were talking about the tongs.
Good. I was really trying to
That
shut you
tong
down.
to tong 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 speech.
David used his new power to expand his watch business, forcing merchants to carry his stock and no one else's.
How much stock did he have?
I mean, he made millions of dollars, so
Yeah.
quite a bit.
Jeff asks dumber questions than me. Are you excited?
At what percent?
Well, they're getting much Jewier questions.
Slaton's gonna kick your ass and sue you in court.
Vendors soon
Prove it.
learned better than to refuse. That summer, the Chinese decided it was time to push back.
All of them together as one?
Yes, the entire Chinese population of the world,
Isn't that like 10 billion?
just like 1 billion, but whatever.
In
math isn't a
China,
big
you
deal.
said of the world,
Yeah,
idiot.
but
Look
I'm-
at this
but I'm
idiot.
talking-
Now
I'm talking
who's-
70s though.
Now who's talking?
I'm talking
idiots?
late 80s, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah, so for inflation,
yeah,
it was about 1 billion then.
maybe.
See what's up,
You
dog?
don't even know. You
I
don't
do.
even know if you know.
I know most things.
Probably. That's
That-
probably true.
At first, the Chinese gangs just harassed BTK members across town.
Born to Kill.
On August 5th, 1989,
1989, August 5th. Reminder.
David Tai sat in front of the Asian shopping mall with a few members of BTK when two teenage members of the Flying Dragons approached.
The Chinese group is approaching now.
They openly insulted David, but since they were
Well,
teens,
what did they say?
Yeah, that's important.
just like
What did they say?
you know what, there actually is something written down
Was
somewhere.
it your like a your mama joke?
I mean, essentially, yeah. It was like the Chinese gang version of
you
your
think
mama
you're
jokes.
Chinese, but I am Chinese. You know nothing. Actually, the Chinese don't speak French. do they?
No, the Chinese accent is-
British.
yes, the Chinese accent's more like this.
That's a very weird accent you have there.
Yeah.
The Chinese.
All right, all right.
Cockney Chinese.
Oh,
I'm
Mary
super
Poppins.
Chinese, mate.
Hey, right.
Yeah.
All right.
Your mama's so fat.
That's the worst Chinese and English accent we've ever had on this show.
But
Right.
since these these gang, this is an old gang. Since
Yes.
these guys were teenagers, he told them to go home to their mothers.
Oh, he snapped back.
Why don't you just go home to your mother,
He
you little
snapped
bitch?
back. He be talking
I
about
cannot
their
believe you'd
moms.
insult me like that.
Well, I just did, so maybe you should leave.
Then one of the boys made a
like
huge
that
mistake,
accent.
and he spit on the
Merci.
sidewalk. A massive sign of disrespect.
On the sidewalk, though?
To the sidewalk. Well, that used to be
Jeez.
illegal.
Jeez
Spitting on
Louise.
sidewalks could get you like 30-day jail time back in 1989.
Are you
David
serious?
stood up
Yeah.
and walked inside.
Okay, so he didn't want any trouble. He's like, I'm going to fucking slap this kid if I stand right here
Minutes
any longer.
later,
Uh-oh, he
He
wanted
removed
trouble?
himself from the situation initially.
Lam Trang, a 19-year-old BTK
Say that
up-and-comer. Lam Trang.
One more time.
Lam Trang.
3 more times faster.
That's enough now. A 19-year-old BTK up-and-comer
It's like two of us.
ran. It's the worst. It
I
really
know.
is.
I can see you getting pissed.
I am melting
I looked
down
at Baldy.
over
I
here.
was like, Baldy, let's tone down on him because he's getting.
When he's telling you to calm the fuck down, you know you've jumped the shark, dude.
well, I'm just looking at Slaton. I'm like, his veins and his foreheads are starting to pulsate. Let's let him get through a sentence.
There's not even a balance. It's not like a yin and a yang. It's like two yins.
I know.
It's brutal.
That sounds like another racial term for Jews. Yins instead of yins.
That's for Asian Jews only.
Asian Jews. I know a
All
few.
17 of them.
I'm sorry. Continue.
Where were we? A
Now
19-year-old.
he's telling you to go on with your story. I'm just gonna hang out here, put my feet up.
Minutes later, Lamb, a 19-year-old BTK up-and-comer, ran outside with a 38 and put 2 bullets in the first dragon's head.
A kid, though. These were kids.
15, 16 years old.
Oh my God. Well, they won't be causing any more trouble around here,
The
folks.
other tried to run, but Lamb calmly took a knee and put 2 in his back.
Oh my God. The violence has begun.
Why did he take a knee?
To better steady his aim as the guy
Okay.
ran away.
Wasn't like a respect thing.
No, he wasn't protesting police brutality either.
Okay.
He was just
trying to ask him to marry him as he was running away.
Yeah.
He'd killed that motherfuck, as the BTK members like to say. By the time the cops arrived, all they found were 2 bodies, a row of closed shops, and no witnesses. By the way, this is a fun little note. They cussed. They like to cuss a lot, but they didn't do it well, so they didn't say motherfucker. They just said motherfuck.
Oh, I heard you when you said it. I love
I
it.
think
Noun,
it's a
verb,
better-
adjutive, motherfuck it works all across the
I
board.
think that's a better thing than motherfucker. Is you motherfuck.
Yeah.
I think that's better.
It's got a harsh ending right
Yeah.
there.
Many of the younger members lived in Brooklyn's Coney Island, the last stop on the subway.
You ever been to Coney Island?
Never have.
I never had. Shefsky?
I don't know. Maybe when I was a kid. I don't remember.
While living that far out had the benefits of cheap rent and being far from gang trouble, it had an on-side effect on the young Vietnamese.
What was that side effect, Mr. Slatey Boo?
They began to imitate their young black neighbors.
Oh, great.
What
Wow.
started with
More
slang.
appropriation.
Here we go.
What started with slang.
Can't we just be Vietnamese that we were? Be accepting of who we are?
Why can we not keep on talking like we talk?
Because we are Vietnamese and not French, and we are not Chinese like those English-sounding guys.
Yo, my bitch. We are Chinese Vietnamese people.
I am a black man in a tan man's body, and you know something else? You are a real motherfuck.
What started with slang soon morphed into the dope game,
Can we change your name to Slangton?
which turned into using, which turned into all-night drunken crack binges, which turned into randomly firing their guns in their apartments.
I would. There was about 10 steps back where I've been like, I don't think I want to hang out with these guys very
Yeah,
much.
this seems like some red flags.
Whoa, Chinese joke, folks.
Oh,
Say
man.
you heard it here
Send your
first.
emails to Jeffrey Baldinger at gmail.com.
I'll take the dick pics. You can give him the dick
I
letters.
almost guarantee he has that, because who else has his name and a Gmail account?
It sounds.
Oh, I know. That's not mine. It is somebody else's.
Oh, sorry, man.
Hey, did you ever have like a chick come up to you and like flick you in the nuts and go like, "Hey, it's a little Baldinger for you"? Bing.
Ding.
Every day.
With David's blessing, his cracked out underlings went on a rampage.
Dude, cracked out gangsters, cracked out Vietnamese gangsters. I bet they play that Russian roulette like in the Deer Hunter. Oh my God, this is terrifying now. Running around with guns in New York. What else, huh? What else, Slayton?
They started robbing Chinese businesses which were known to be dragon or ghost hangouts while not even wearing masks.
Ooh,
Oh,
so
so
they were like
ballsy.
bold. They were bold.
Unsurprisingly, when 4 BTK members tried to enter a Ghost Shadows tea room, they were turned away.
Why?
Insulted,
You fucking idiot. He's going to tell you.
the BTK members sent in a younger gangster to wave his gun around. The ensuing shootout left 2 ghosts dead, and the shooter was captured by the police.
Like you just don't care?
Yes. Yeah, wave your gun in the air like you just don't care. And when they come in your hair, then pop those guns off in there.
They came,
So
came in his
Wait,
hair?
what
Yeah.
the hell? What this?
Sorry,
story-
Mom.
Sorry,
this
Mom.
turned sexual.
I know, Slayton, you're
At
gross.
45 minutes,
You're-
that might be our latest sorry, Mom.
You're so immature, Slayton. I can't believe you went sexual on us.
As the cops started cracking down, members began serving short stints at Rikers Island, the only place in New York where all the Asian gangs got along. Inside,
In the jail? Oh, so
Because
you
yeah.
they were in the clink.
yeah, in prison, like you don't divide by that, you don't go that sparse.
God, there's so
sparse,
many
not that much.
rules in these
You
cultures.
gotta get with the people in the prisons.
Inside, other prisoners rarely gave trouble to the United Asian Front due to an incident in Christmas of 1988.
UAF, that's the acronym.
That's right.
After some black inmates harassed an Asian leader, he and his right-hand man, known as Shadow Boy, cornered them with a straight razor.
Is that his real name?
Yes. That's his given name.
Like he was born and his mom's like, I shall name him
Shadow Boy.
Shadow Boy.
Wee.
So
Shadow.
these two guys, they corner the black guys who are getting them trouble and said, quote, "We have no gifts to open this Christmas, so we must open
Oh,
faces."
God, that's so brutal. Don't
And
tell
then
me.
slice them up a whole bunch.
Oh,
What did they do with
gross.
the innards?
They
I mean,
didn't
they
cut through them and they didn't
just slice their
disembowel
face-
them.
they just
Haven't
fuck
you
their
ever seen
faces
like a
up.
documentary? They put it on the back of their
No,
toothbrush.
I haven't
You
seen
ever
the
seen The Dark Knight?
documentary. Have I seen the
You
Dark
ever seen
Knight?
The Dark Knight? Yeah,
I saw
how the Joker got his razor cuts, was that he fucked with these guys inside of
I
Rikers
saw
Island.
the
Brutal.
Dark Knight Returns. It was a cartoon.
Ugh. As tensions escalated, yeah, the book's better. As tensions escalated, the comic book's better. As tensions escalated, David got a message. Benny Ong, aka
Benny and the Ong. Dum, 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 dum.
I literally
Dun,
can't say Benny on the
dun,
show. It's impossible.
dun. Do I always bring up Benny and the Jets?
Every single time I've ever said Benny on
It
the
is
show.
one of the best songs ever written and performed. I mean, Daniel's pretty good too.
As
though.
tension escalated, David got a message from Benny Ong, aka Uncle Seven.
Wait, how many times have you said Benny Ong on this show?
No, it's anytime I say Benny in any
Benny,
context. We've had
anything.
other
Oh,
Bennies.
okay. I
I think
gotcha.
Benny Binion.
Benny and Binion.
Yeah.
Dun,
Okay, let's.
Beignet?
dun,
For the
dun,
love
Have you
of
ever
God.
said? Have you ever said beignet?
I will
And have
murder
you
everybody here
done that?
with a straight razor. I will open my Christmas presents right now.
But then
Nice.
that would be
So
like
wait,
the
did he-
universe that we need to be in, where you commit the crime and then who does the show about us in an
Does
alternate
the
realm?
time?
David got
With
a
three
message from a man
eyes.
whose nickname was Uncle Seven, the so-called Godfather of Chinatown.
Uncle and the Seven.
The Godfather?
dun. Just joking, Slade. Go back to your story, Slade. You're doing great. You're really.
Uncle Seven demanded a Kong Su, a negotiation.
Oh, I thought that was like food. I was excited to hear what it is.
Kung Su, like Kung Fu?
In many ways, this could be seen as an honor. David had become powerful enough to earn a meal with the most powerful man in Chinatown.
Good for you, David. You worked your way up. You've been working for this.
Did it.
A sit-down
Started from the bottom.
would result in an agreement that would keep the peace and make David a very rich man.
Nice.
So, of course, he ignored the message.
Is he still in prison at this time?
Is this because of his pride? And he's just like, I'm not gonna.
A, David has not been in prison.
No, it was just the other guys.
Yeah, some of his like underlings have been.
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
Is this from his pride that he's like, I'm not working with anybody, even if it's gonna make me rich? Like, I don't
No,
like you.
it's fuck the Chinese specifically.
No, that's what I mean.
Gotcha.
Oh, okay,
Right,
I-
right.
that's
He
what I meant. Though.
He
But
don't
like,
fuck with them, so he doesn't want to fuck with them.
fuck the Chinese coming straight out of Brooklyn.
Uncle Seven now lost face or respect. Soon after, Amigo, David's number 2, was gunned down outside a massage parlor on Canal Street.
Before or after he had a
Why was his
rub
name-
and tug?
It appears to be after because so
He was
how,
too
how,
relaxed
how it
to grab
happened,
his gun.
He and 4 hookers or prostitutes or ladies of the night, or
Let's just say humans that were
massage
earning an
therapists.
honest living, Slade. They are people.
He and 4 massage therapists who never did any sort of sex stuff.
We don't know that.
They were standing outside of the massage parlor, and a cab came up, but they couldn't all 5 fit in it. So he put the girls in and was like, "I'll get the next one." And the next one was Chinese gangsters killing him.
Oh, what?
That's how David died.
Yeah, and that's not how. No, David's still alive. This is how his
It's
number.
Uncle Seven.
This is
Uncle Seven is the head of all Chinese. He's one of the head of one of the
He
major.
just
This is
got
Amigo.
disrespected,
Uncle Seven gets disrespected.
and so now he
retaliation-
doesn't have any respect.
Yes, he doesn't have any respect. Now
tell
and
ya.
trying to
now,
make a run. He's trying to make a Dangerfield rip. I knew he was going to bring Dangerfield. That's okay.
I was waiting for how long it would take him to go to his go to his.
Let him do
his
it real quick.
danger
Though. It's
crutch.
good. This
What
show's
you
all
got?
about it. Let's hear it.
I'm listening.
Oh, now you don't want to do it.
Now you don't- now you don't- now you're not in-
I'm
What
doing
would
all right
Rodney say?
now, but last week I was in rough shape, you know.
That's not bad at all. That was really good.
So soon after
Rough
this
shit.
disrespect was sent towards this, soon after this insult was given
You don't get no respect.
towards Uncle Seven, David's number 2, Amigo, was gunned down in this attack.
Okay.
David promised his members revenge. Quote,
His name was Amigo.
that was his nickname.
You
That's like
listen
just
worse than
friends.
I do.
No, I'm
Slayton and I are
listening.
going to kill you. Slayton, it's like if Earth got invaded by aliens, that's how everybody would stick together and have
Yeah,
a
yeah.
bond.
That's how we're on the same
we're
side,
Earth, and
finally.
we've been invaded by aliens, and we both together can be like, we must team up to fight Jeffrey Baldinger.
I want to tell you, in over 60 episodes, I have had to stop Shefsky, like break a Shefsky riff to move on so many times.
Yeah.
Never in that time period.
I'm on your side right
Has
now.
he stopped a guest from riffing so he can move on until today? It's the first time it's ever happened.
This is insane. This is amazing. Well, I love novel shows, so this is a great experience.
This is a good bonding experience after like
It's
being on
great.
top of each other in Nashville for
is
for
great.
You guys were on top of each other in Nashville?
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
every
we
night.
69.
and
It was
day.
That's
incredible.
and
awesome.
afternoon.
That's so cool.
Twilight, dawn.
Slayton's a grumpy guy in the morning. I'm
Ooh,
excited.
mornings.
I'm a butt pincher in the morning. I twist nipples at 8 a.m.
I will open up Christmas presents any morning.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that
Naked
right now.
like
He
the
is very
snuggle?
angry.
Sleep naked, like to snuggle.
Well, he gets a little fussy when he's on the road with Shefsky.
So David promised his members revenge.
We're trying to listen. Okay?
David promised his members revenge.
trying to listen to the
For the
story.
love of Christ, we have so much more to do.
All right, go on with your story. There's only
David
trying to
promised.
listen, man.
We're like, are we even halfway? David promised his members revenge. Quote: "We're going to kidnap Ghost Shadow's leader, chop his head off, and throw it in the street."
So the violence is just only going to escalate. We're not going backwards. No one's shaking hands and talking this out with a therapist.
Violence begets violence.
No, they're about to. They're going to all.
It's like a gang war about to happen.
I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. Amigo's funeral procession
Amigo's
began
dead.
on July 28th, 1990.
Wow.
And lasted for 2 days.
Damn.
6 men carried the coffin while members of BTK, dressed in their best black suits, sunglasses, and hair gel, marched down the middle of Canal Street through Chinatown.
They sound like just a bunch of fans of the movie The Room.
Yeah.
We
The
dress like Tommy.
The procession stopped in the middle of the street to open a banner.
Oh, hi, amigo.
Stand by BTK / Canal Boys.
I did not kill Amigo. I did not kill Amigo.
Uncle Seven. Oh, hi, Uncle Seven. Why, Uncle Seven? Why? You're tearing
You're
me
tearing me apart.
Uncle Seven. Mark.
So for 2 days, they marched up and down Canal Street in Chinatown and have a banner for the BTK / Canal Boys.
If anything, they burned a lot of calories.
When
Yeah.
cops tried to
Got
take
their
it away,
steps in.
the gangsters folded it up and gave them the finger.
Oh.
Finally, they loaded it into a hearse and limousines and slowly drove to the cemetery. 200 people, including BTK members from new chapters all over the U.S.,
This is all for Amigo?
gathered for the burial.
So what you're saying is the gang has, I mean, we haven't talked about it too much in the story, but the gang has grown. It's
So-
exploded. 200
so-
members alone is a
They
lot.
all know that they are
So
all
the-
part of the same gang? Or they're like, oh, you didn't know that this
So
was
there,
this
so
big.
there's about 70 to 80 original core members. They've been recruiting some younger guys into it.
Yeah.
Some members have moved away and are beginning to sort of start stuff up in other cities as well.
And is it like a pyramid scheme where like you benefit from? So if we get more members, then the trickle up that we get of like the money that goes through the system
Absolutely.
is just bigger.
That's how organized crime works.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just
Yeah, it's
you know.
So like the Russian bratva
I don't know what that is, but yes.
means brother.
Nice. 200 people, including BTK members from new chapters all over the U.S., gathered for the burial. The banner lay over the casket. No one noticed when 3 more Asian men in all black approached with flowers. At least not until they dropped the roses,
And had guns. Did they
pulled
have
out an
guns?
Uzi and a 12 gauge. from
Don't
inside
ruin
their
the
trench
story,
coats.
Shefsky. He was doing it for like a paused effect. You know, I knew it was coming too, but it was like,
Sorry.
What did they do next?
what, after they shot down
Well, they didn't
people?
shoot. Yeah, I just said they dropped the roses and pulled out their guns.
Right, and then they took aim, probably.
And then after that,
You piece of shit.
they finally opened fire.
See? What did I say?
Even then, some of the mourners assumed this.
It's okay. It's okay.
Even then, some of the mourners assumed the sound was firecrackers.
Typical.
Only one BTK was able to fire back, as none of them had carried guns, assuming no one would dare hit a funeral.
Oh, wait.
Because it's like a big
Can I
no-no.
guess what
Oh,
it was?
yeah.
'Cause was it David?
No, it wasn't David.
Oh.
But they'd already broken the rules themselves, so they were all out the window. 7 mourners were hit and a dozen more injured in the panic, but there were no deaths. The cops brought in nearly 100 of the attendees for questioning, but that was a futile effort.
Because
Most
of the
wouldn't
rules.
talk.
You remember the rules?
Yep.
Ones that have been broken.
You don't turn in other gangsters, even if it's the other gang, right?
Most of them wouldn't talk. Yeah,
that- is
never.
that right?
Well, rule number 2 was never cooperate with the police.
So
Never
even if they're getting the
cooperate
bad
with
guy,
police.
the
Yeah.
other gang that you hate, you keep your fucking mouth shut.
You ever see Goodfellas? It's the same thing.
Many times. I love Goodfellas. I forgot. I've seen it 20 times too.
So most of the attendees wouldn't talk. The ones that would talk were nearly impossible to understand. The cops, because they had really thick accents, because they were almost all immigrants.
Like what? What did it sound like?
Oh, those guys that came in and they shot everybody.
Oui. Officer, you should have seen them. They had flowers and
I
then they
enjoyed
pulled
it
out
so
their
much better
guns.
back in Vietnam.
Oh my goodness, I had a lot of bread and butter and a croissant before they shot at me.
There were so many rats all over the garbage. They were fun to hang out with.
It was like a crepe shop with batter everywhere, but the batter was human remains.
The cops assumed that everyone gave fake names. The cops assumed that everyone gave fake names, which was impossible to verify, as only 2 of the over 100 interviewees carried any form of ID.
Oh, that's badass though. Because
Wow.
a lot of times I got that badges. We don't need no stinking badges attitude. Like, what am I
We
gonna do
don't
with this
need
thing?
no stinking badges.
For a brief time, Chinatown was quiet.
How brief was it?
The cemetery shooting.
That was. You have to admit, Mr. Richard Slaton, that was good timing on Baldinger's part.
The cemetery shooting brought attention from the press, something no one wanted. An unofficial ceasefire took hold, but it would not last. In his grief, David neglected to appoint someone to Amico's position, and members of his territory began to go on unsanctioned jobs.
What does that mean?
Means that they didn't clear their crimes before.
Encroaching on the police.
Oh,
People trying
shit.
to
So David's losing
take
control.
power.
He's losing control.
It's like when
A little
Wilson
bit.
Fisk was put in jail.
Like with any criminal organization,
Yeah.
young people take risks and do stupid shit. But if you don't have everything totally in place, more of that happens.
That's
So
what
he
I'm
didn't-
seeing
yeah.
happening. It's like slipping. It's not an
Amigo-
isolated incident. It's like, oh, now he's like, fuck. Next week there was 3 people that went out and did jobs. Basically,
Right.
they robbed
Nobody's
someone or they.
communicating.
Okay,
Head's not talking to the
it's
body.
not good.
During a raid
Body's
on
not talking to the head.
Open door
as it
policy
were.
at that corporation,
Yeah.
right?
During a raid on a warehouse, one member got angry when the store owner looked at him and fired a warning shot. But he didn't pay close attention to where the warning shot was pointed,
And,
the-
accidentally fucking shot the guy.
and the bullet hit another BTK member in the head.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's that's
That
friendly
is-
fire.
Boom. Right
Sloppiness.
there. Did it exit the head too, or was it stuck in the brain?
All the brains went
You
away.
remember in Pulp Fiction? Remember in Pulp Fiction?
Yep.
When they're driving.
Yep.
Oh,
Seen the movie.
and you're just like, dude, it was your friend.
When
that was
gang
your
members
friend. Boom.
when gang members weren't accidentally killing each other, they were getting shot by the Chinese.
This is a stressful lifestyle. It sounds horrible.
3 young BTK
But the
members.
health benefits,
Oh yeah.
full coverage.
You're going to need full coverage. How many? What's my deductible on bullet removals, Doc?
When 3 young BTK members spent the night drinking at the Cinta Lounge, one of them made the
The
mistake of
scintillating Cinta Lounge.
One of them made the mistake of using a rival gangster's cell phone without asking. They were marched out of the bar at gunpoint, their jackets on backwards, a move that made it hard to defend themselves. The next day, all 3 turned up with bullets in their heads.
So they died.
Where'd they turn up though? Is they had bullets in their head?
Yeah, was it lit AF?
Super lit. They were just found in a parking lot.
Oh, dig it.
So they basically got taken out and executed. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's such a depressing way to go.
The killing was brazen enough.
Do you think they had any last words?
Where is my baguette?
All right, get
Probably
this one.
shouldn't have chosen that as his last words, I'm guessing.
All right, let's get the next one.
Was that the second guy's last word? Was he probably shouldn't have chosen?
He probably
that?
shouldn't have said that as his last words.
And then the third guy.
Can you guys not shoot me, please? I have so much more to live for. Oh, you missed. Man, you guys are bad shots. Do you have any more bullets left? Ow.
Nice.
That was his body hitting the
You
floor.
continue the story, please.
The killing was brazen enough that major Chinatown business owners were convinced for the first time to meet with police over the Vietnamese problem. Surprisingly, it was the police who needed convincing, as they assumed every major business leader in Chinatown was part of the mob.
Really? They're just racially profiling everyone?
Yeah. Well, because here's the thing, too, is you have to realize at this time, Chinatown was insanely insular. So they didn't report crimes, and the cops didn't really deal with much of the crime there.
They took care. They had an honor
like,
system. They took care of themselves.
It's like
was-
Old Town in Sin City.
Yeah, it was sort of like that. Just, that's its own thing. We don't really fuck with it. We don't speak the language. They have their own system.
That's
Their
terrifying.
crimes are contained to themselves.
You
Let them
can't have
work it out.
that. We can't have that going on.
Well, it's not happening right now, ish.
Oh. Oh, yeah, the story's old, right?
This is an older
Thankfully,
story.
now everything is settled.
When
Everything
David
is fine now.
When David heard of this meeting, he was furious that the death of 3 of his members resulted in a meeting about how they were the problem. It was yet another insult from the Chinese to the Vietnamese. When 2 of Chinatown's biggest papers ran stories on the, quote, growing problem of BTK violence, he was fuming. Things got worse when his wife, worried about the escalating violence, took the children and left.
Wait, he was married?
Yeah. Remember he moved to the Hell's Kitchen 1-bedroom apartment,
Oh yeah, that's right.
dropped out of school?
Yeah.
His chick was a fellow
He was.
Vietnamese.
He was.
Vietnamese
They were
person.
going to
Yeah, yeah.
NYU. This is how crazy all this stuff.
I remember more
They
than
were
him.
going to
Yeah. Notice
that?
NYU, and they had this kid and dropped out and moved to this shitty apartment.
What was he going for in his major?
I think crime.
Hotel management.
Oh, that's such a good. Thing.
You know that classic NYU hotel management degree
Yeah.
everyone gets.
I didn't
Go
know they had that.
Violets.
Yep.
That's the mascot for NYU.
So like, if
by
he
the
just
way.
hadn't had a kid, if they just hadn't got married, we hadn't had a kid, none of this could have all not have happened.
Yeah.
Just the way the wings of a butterfly, that effect is Next thing you know, you're
really is
the head of a gangster.
How old was his kid at this point?
Let's see. The kid was born around 78, and this is about 80. This is 90. So there you go. That's how old he has two kids. Right. That's how old the oldest one is, around 20, around 12.
12ish.
Bar mitzvah age.
So he did the only thing that made sense
And gave his kid a Vietnamese bar mitzvah.
and moved to Long Island to begin dating a prostitute. As they
really?
bounced, yeah,
Oh, man.
David did?
yes,
Maybe that's what they call a Vietnamese bar mitzvah.
that's the dating a prostitute is a Vietnamese bar mitzvah. You heard it here,
Yeah.
folks.
Yeah.
A Vietnamese bar mitzvah is dating a prostitute.
Well, you become
Sticker
a man
of the month.
or
That
a
feels like
woman.
one. Well, we'll figure out some sort of animation for it.
I can think of one right now.
As they bounced from
prostitute
home to
doing the
home,
hora.
he realized that BTK would never rule Chinatown. But the funeral had given him an idea. With members all over the states, it was time to officially expand. So, of course, he chose to start with Connecticut.
Obviously.
Because of Kenneth Kniff.
BTK took Bridgeport, Connecticut by storm, setting up shop in an unassuming suburban bordello run by his new girlfriend. They spent a week robbing and stealing from nearly every Asian business before they said fuck it and hit the road once more.
Why just Asian businesses? Like, they really have no camaraderie to other immigrants? Like,
Well,
hey,
first of all, they don't care if you're not Vietnamese. Secondly, they know that the Asian immigrants will not report it because they don't deal with cops really.
oh, wow.
That's just across the board.
It just seems so exploitive, though, you know? It's like other people that just got into the country and are working their ass off to try
Oh,
to
it's so
survive.
weird. The criminal organization is exploitive.
Yeah,
I would
guess
never
you're
guess
right.
that.
Okay, it's a
Are you
good
sure?
point.
Is it exploitative? Not
Exploitative?
exploitive?
Yeah, I think it's exploitative.
I'm like Dolores. I choose to see the good in this world.
They hit the road. Next, they drove 20 hours to Georgia, planning to do the same thing.
Driving 20 hours to Georgia, do the same thing.
But the night before, they decided to attend a Vietnamese party.
But the night before, decided about joining a Vietnamese party. Ooh. Sorry, Slaton, you
A
can go on with the
concert
story.
featuring a famous Vietnamese singer in a nightclub.
Henry Chow.
But when they arrived, the bouncer had the audacity to charge them a cover. Furious at the
How
insult.
much?
I don't know how much it
I was
was.
gonna say, can I find out what the audacity of this cover charge was going to be?
No matter what it cost, this was an insult, as David was the #1 Vietnamese gangster in the entire country.
Like they should have
Prove
known.
it.
They should have known who he was. Like it was kind of rude that they were asking him.
he felt like they should have known who he was.
but they
Yeah,
didn't.
but
They
they
didn't know
were
who he
in
was.
Georgia.
It's Georgia.
They were in Georgia, and he's from New York.
But it's a Vietnamese event, so he was like, they
Indiana?
should know me anyway.
That's kind of weird,
That's
though.
like
I agree with you, Jeffrey Baldinger,
it's like the
That'd be
beginning.
like me going to like
of somewhere in New York.
What
you
about
know,
me? Don't you
at
agree
my
with me too?
neighbor's house.
Don't agree with you.
It'd be like me going to like my neighbor's in the third floor's house or whatever, and just being like, "Yeah, you should know me. We live in the same building." We've never
Great
met
analogy,
before."
Jeffrey Baldinger.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
He's known as the analogy guy, and that's
Furious at the insult,
great example.
I'm like really good at analogies.
David paid for everyone to get inside. Then at 1 a.m., some BTK members started a fight in the club. The bouncer, left alone outside, suddenly found a gun pressed up to his head. "Don't make me have to shoot, motherfuck," the gunman said.
That's David,
It's a
right?
nice callback.
It's one of his underlings.
Oh, one of his guys. Okay.
The motherfuck ran and the gangster opened fire. At the same time, gunshots went off inside the club as one of the drunken members decided it would make a better distraction than a mere fight.
Did the,
Did he get the bouncer?
Did the bouncer get hit?
Because you just said he shot him.
Nope, he shot at him. The bouncer just kept on dancing and dodging and didn't get hit once.
That's what they say statistically. I remember reading. I've read one of these books about being a woman and escaping crime. I know it's weird because I'm not a chick, but I read one of those books about women's safety to tell women in my life about how to be safe. And I remember one of the main things they said is if someone tries to get you to go with them with a gun, you always run, and you can run squiggly lines in different shapes, but you
bullets
just
only
you
go
always,
straight.
Yeah, and you still might get shot, but you're statistically safer than if you go with someone who's trying to kidnap you. Never get in the van with the guy with the cast on. Signs
Yeah,
of the lamp.
bitch.
When the gunman told David what happened with the bouncer, he just laughed. They pulled off a number of robberies in the South before heading back to New York. Now, I kind of cut this earlier, but I would put it back in for a second. One of the main robbery they did, they went to a jewelry store, and they all had assigned jobs of how it was supposed to go down.
Yeah.
Half of them didn't do their jobs right, and it ended up the jewelry store owner got stabbed a bunch and shot in the head, and he survived.
Oh, well, that's
so they
good.
all pile into their cars to flee the scene and get out of Georgia. They get 30 miles up the road and stop, and they go, "Hey, wait a second, where's Nicky?" They'd left one of the gangsters back at the murder and just forgotten about him, like it was soccer practice.
That happened
he's
to
like-
me once where we were on a road trip and we forgot one of our friends at a gas station.
Yep.
But he wasn't a murderer, though. So
Well, yeah,
He was?
He killed a lot of people.
okay,
They eventually went back and they went back and found him like taking a taxi, trying to catch up with him.
they found him in a taxi.
Yeah.
Wow, that's some good zeroing in.
But this guy got stabbed multiple times, shot in the head, and survived. So
The guy that they forgot?
the jewelry store
guy.
owner.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad he wasn't killed.
Is he still alive to this day?
I have no idea.
Is he doing well?
They
you know
returned
his
to
name?
New
We can
York
look
to
it up.
find things had cooled off. A month of calm had restored order in Chinatown, and the press had moved on to the newly arrested John Gotti.
Oh, he's not big tabloid, so he's gonna get some heat taken off.
Even the Chinese seemed to back off, apparently relenting the Canal Street belonged to BTK. Merchants who once balked at making extortion payments to the Vietnamese now happily coughed up the dough, a small price to pay for the new peace.
God, I wish you could cough up money.
All of them,
Sneeze out some change.
But
Achoo!
one.
Oh, parking meter's taken care of.
man, sometimes I set up these things to like really make the story go forward.
Oh, sorry. Go back 2 sentences. Go back 2 sentences.
No, it's fine. You know what? Let's not even do the rest of the story. It's okay.
Go back
Not a
2
big deal.
sentences.
I'm trying to listen. Shefsky's being interruptive.
I'm gonna fucking strangle you.
So basically, everything's fine. The heat's off from the cops.
Yep, I got
the
that part.
Chinese are like, you know what? You guys just have Canal Street. We don't want any more trouble
Yeah.
anymore.
So he's got
Right.
territory.
The merchants are
Like
like, you know what?
Venice.
We'll happily pay our protection fee. Not a big deal. Everything's calm now, and business is good because everything's calm again.
Yeah. Time to smoke a doobie and have an apple
and
fritter.
everyone's paying their fees, paying their protection money,
Paying them dues.
except for one guy. Sen Van Ta owned a large building on Canal Street that housed his own clothing outlet and the Golden Star jewelry store.
Notice how I didn't pick on you for messing up that word.
I appreciate that.
Outfit.
He'd been paying
Outlet.
his tax for years, but he was tired of the young punks taking his cash for protection, especially since he was bigger than all of them. Plus, he
Size-wise or like
size-wise,
reputation?
size-wise. He was like he was a tall, thick dude, and they were all these wiry.
And
like,
he was
immigrant
Vietnamese
kids.
as well?
Vietnamese as well, yeah. Plus,
Did he know David?
He might have been Chinese. Actually, I don't know if Sen Van Ta. I think there's a Vietnamese name, not a Chinese name. I could be wrong though.
Well, do your research.
I know, right?
Before you make a racist podcast
how do I
episode.
not do my research on the show ever?
Honestly.
So
Right?
ridiculous.
Am I right?
Plus, Ta had worked hard and honestly. He didn't like them taking his cash. When David Tai left town, he stopped paying. When they returned, January 21st, 1991, Ta was closing the shop doors when 3 members of BTK forced him back inside at gunpoint, busted open his head, robbed the place of $350,000 worth of jewelry, and jumped into a Cadillac driven by a new recruit from Georgia known as Jungle Man.
That's a cool name.
a
Jungle
good name.
Man.
There you go.
Jungle Man cometh.
But as they sped away, lights
Welcome
off,
to the Jungle Man.
they blazed past an unmarked police car. After a 15-minute chase, the men were cornered and arrested by over a dozen of New York's finest.
All right, who was in this car that was arrested?
Some underlings.
Okay.
But
And
they
they
didn't.
killed the guy that you were talking about?
Oh, did they
No,
kill the
tall
guy
guy?
that they robbed?
No, they just robbed him.
Okay.
Just hit him in the head.
Okay.
But they didn't find the jewelry, as it was already on its way to David's secret Long Island safe house in a second getaway car.
It's a good name for a bar, too.
Second getaway.
So that's the brilliant thing is they had the one getaway car like
Right.
sped away and attracted attention. The one with the cash and everything went to the safe house.
That's how you play it, man.
It seemed to be the perfect crime. The BTKs in the first car might do a short stint for fleeing the cops and carrying a gun, but that would be it. That was until Sen Van Ta showed up at the police lineup and identified the robbers.
More like Sen Van Car.
A week later,
The car that he was
Ta received an envelope.
getaway car. Sen Van getaway car.
understand.
You know where I was going.
I didn't, but okay.
Thank you.
A week later, Ta received an envelope with an article about the robbery and shards of broken glass.
What the fuck did that mean?
A warning that they might blow up his store.
Oh, that's what it meant.
A few days later, he received a visit from David Tai himself, who insinuated that if Ta went to the cops and said the men in custody weren't the robbers, that he might get his jewelry back.
Oh, nice.
I'll bet that he was like threatening him.
It's almost like
with
a-
that. Like it wasn't like a suggestion that
for
he do it.
sure,
I
for
bet that
sure.
he was like really going like, you should do this.
Seems
Otherwise,
like
I'm
an
gonna kill
even-handed
you.
negotiation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I read. I read it's like, hey man, if you want to do this, that could work out pretty nice. I
But
think it's fine.
I'll bet though, like he was probably saying it like that in tone.
But also, I mean, like,
should
if
probably
you don't
this.
do it, you've
But
only
if you
got to
don't do it,
lose.
Ta-
like, I'm gonna kill you. That's what I bet.
That's what I think-
you know,
I don't think that's
can't
what
tell.
I think this is just a friendly offer.
You seriously?
I think it's a
you
friendly
fucking
offer that
asshole! I thought
has
you were serious
nothing
right now.
attached to it.
Well,
You
you
do
thought
agree.
that was serious? I think that he agrees with me.
Ta ignored David's offer.
Oh, fucking bad move, Ta.
On March 10th, 1991, he was silenced permanently.
Like
How
he was
so?
murdered.
Like
Yes,
he got
was
his.
he was murdered.
So you,
Oh.
so Baldinger was right.
So I
this
was
whole time.
right.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming. That's so crazy.
You did see it coming.
Did not.
You tried to trick me though.
In David's eyes, the problem was finally gone, and he could get back to business as usual. Finally, everything was in place. He controlled Canal Street, and everyone knew it. The merchants wouldn't give him trouble. The Chinese wouldn't give him trouble. The cops wouldn't give him trouble.
The witness was fucking dead.
But trouble would come from the most surprising place.
Where would it come?
Tim No had been with BTK since the beginning.
Oh, it came from inward.
He'd started with one of the smaller gangs. He'd been at the first meeting. He'd signed the paper. He'd committed robberies and quietly done his time. He'd been at the murder in Georgia. He'd kept his mouth shut. But in early 1991, he was arrested for and identified for a robbery that went violent. The cops had him by the balls. Tim found himself...
Okay, go on. Sorry, I don't want to end anything.
Go ahead. No, ask your question.
This whole time, this guy he's been the guy that's got picked up by the cops, has been wearing wires.
No, nothing's happened. He's done nothing so far.
No. He hasn't done anything. He's been a part of everything.
He was one of the guys.
He's taken him down
David,
from the inside.
Who, when he first got here, David was like, "Let me give you food. Let me give you shelter. Let me give you a job."
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no.
But when he got busted that one time for the robbery that went violent.
No, but this happens right now.
Oh.
Yeah, we're not
Okay, so
he's
we're
just
not
a part of
Tarantinoing this
everything.
shit.
Okay, this just happened.
He's just
maybe
part of
you
everything.
could. Okay.
You just listen and stop interrupting.
Seriously.
Sorry, guys.
The cops had him
Fucking
by the
dicks.
balls. Tim found
Now
himself.
who's on the same side? Me and Rich against Shefsky.
I'm exhausted. This episode, I don't know whose team I'm on. Who am I? Like, what's my character definition? What am I?
Tim found himself in an interrogation room with two detectives who started with the question, quote, "How long have you been with the Ghost Shadows?" Tim corrected them. He was BTK. Then he told them everything. So this is
why
how,
didn't he play that off, though?
This
They're
is how
like,
ridiculous.
About 4 months?
Well, this is how ridiculous all this is. They arrest him. They're like, "Hey, so how long you been with that Chinese gang?"
Yeah.
He's like, I am Vietnamese.
Yeah, so he's like, fucking white people.
Oh, do you think they did that on purpose, though?
Could you not hear my accent? I am obviously not a Chinese person.
Do you think the cops were really thinking that he was
Yes, they were super
Chinese?
ignorant at this time.
Or do you think they were like, we are going to try
No,
to
I
get
read the book
him?
that interviews the cops. They were just ignorant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's not as cool then.
Yeah, no, they were just like, "How long you been with the Chinese Ghost Shadows?" He's like, "Oh man, I cannot believe that you put me in this position."
Oh, it's so annoying. So annoying. Racial profiling sucks. Chinese people did not invent sushi.
Tim was a gold
Prove
mine.
it.
The cops knew BTK existed, but this was the first time they had any real information. They'd been scrambling to find anything. Over the last year, the NYPD received calls from departments all across North America about gangsters with BTK tattoos and New York addresses.
Why did this guy squeal?
Long story boring, he didn't really like murder.
He wanted to just get out of it?
Like, he'd been doing, like, he was fine with robbing some stuff and doing some scams and shit like that. But when the Georgia murder happened, he was kind of like, oof. It's
just too much for him.
Too much.
That's a lot.
Too much.
Yeah, the stress kind of broke him. And he's also looking at, he was looking at this, the other thing too is they had him by the balls for this arrest and prison time.
Yeah.
So he's
And-
trying to make a deal.
He'd already been in for a few months here and there for things.
He was breaking rule number 2,
Yep.
But he just couldn't handle
Breaking
the
rule
murder.
breaking rule number 1 and rule number 2.
which was
Rule number 1 was don't betray other gang members.
right.
Rule number 2 was don't talk to the cops.
Yeah.
Rule number 3 was always keep your hair gelled. Rule number 4, wear your
Wait,
sunglasses
what?
inside.
No, that was
Rule number 5, always talk about Fight Club.
That's right. And
This-
rule number 6 is if this is your first time, kids eat free.
This was the
Rule
gold
number
mine.
7, go to heaven.
Rule number 8, don't be late.
Rule number 9, go on with the story.
Rule number 10.
This was a gold
Start
mine.
it again.
The cops.
Oh, that's a fucked up. If he had to do that, if Simon said it, he start from the beginning. He's all, oh, dude, it's Vietnam. Oh, dude.
Tai Tho Hong, a.k.a. David Tai, was born on January 30th, 1956.
Go back to the part of the story you already had.
Well, shit.
That was
Okay.
cute, though.
So over the last year, they've been receiving calls from departments all across North America about gangsters with BTK tattoos and New York addresses. There was a double murder in Toronto, a triple murder in Texas, and a new crew emerging in Stockton. 2 weeks after interviewing Tim, they found another connection at the ATF. They'd been investigating a man who sold counterfeit watches from a booth on Canal Street, who also appeared to be selling another product in the back. Guns.
Oh, that's where it's bad.
They put Tim back in the street wearing a wire.
Oh, my God.
So Tim goes back in.
Have you ever seen The Wire?
No, but
Yes.
everyone says I have to.
Yeah, I've seen the first and last season, but not the 3 in between.
Everyone said
yeah.
it's like a Breaking Bad kind of show. Like you have to watch the whole thing. It's
Yeah,
incredible.
I've never seen it either.
So Tim went back in, not with a sophisticated surveillance device.
But a GoPro helmet on his head and one of those parachute like rascal things that they wear. when they
Maybe
jump.
you had parachute pants?
But with a Sony microcassette recorder in his pants and a microphone inside his breast pocket.
So this is like the cheap getaway to sit.
This is
don't
this is Radio Shack surveillance.
Do the cops know they're going to get this guy killed when he gets pat down?
Yeah, but who
how do
cares?
they think they're going to get that film back?
But the bulky device wasn't comfortable in his waistband.
No shit.
So Tim moved it to his breast
He's
pocket.
got a VCR in his boxers.
On his first day wearing the wire, Tim caught a handful of BTK members discussing everything from old robberies to the botched warning shot.
It'd be funny if they just
Damn.
duct taped DVDs of the show The Wire to his chest, and he's like, "This isn't picking up anything."
At one point, they mentioned that tomorrow they would, quote, cock the gun, meaning an armed robbery.
Oof.
But then Shadow Boy pointed at Tim's shirt. Hey, Timmy, what's that by your shirt? Your shirt is burning.
Oh my god.
Oh man, he was caught on fire because it was too much.
Tim looked down to see the red light of the recorder showing through a smoldering hole in his breast pocket.
Oh my god. I would have been so embarrassed and terrified.
Motherfuck, he said. What the fuck is this? He went to the bathroom, pulled the recorder from his shirt, and hid it in his pants pocket. He walked out of the bathroom,
Where there was a party.
assuming he was about to be killed. Everyone was watching a movie. It was just my beeper, he explained. The light came on when the battery gets low. Gangsters all nodded and turned back to the movie.
What movie was it?
I don't know what they were watching.
Was it Casino?
Probably a gangster movie, though.
It was Casino.
They loved
probably.
watching gangster movies. That's
What
the
if it
big
was
thing.
like the Bridges of Madison County?
93. This is 93 now.
This is 91.
Oh,
91.
but-
Oh, okay, so they might have
90.
been watching the World Series when the Twins won the
91.
World Series.
Or Dazed and Confused, the Richard Linklater movie?
Oh yeah.
That'd be a great one for just to see a bunch of Vietnamese gangsters watching.
Or
Dazed
they're
and
watching
Confused.
Raiders of the Lost Ark because it's the best Indiana Jones movie, and they were like, fuck it, let's watch it again.
Or they're into Tootsie. It'd be so cool. I would love to see gangsters watching
That'd be
Tootsie.
tight. Or maybe the Little Mermaid.
For the next few months, Tim tipped off law enforcement on every robbery he was assigned.
Close Encounters.
Cops would pull over the car,
Terminator.
make some excuse like they ran a stop sign or the vehicle matched a description, search the vehicle, then give them a slap on the wrist. The cops' explanations were pretty thin. When they caught the gangsters with illegal weapons, they let them go with a court summons, explaining that the judge didn't work on Mother's Day. Another time, when they held them for a few hours for driving without ID. But the flimsy excuses wouldn't hold up for long.
I just imagine the judge being the what's his name from The Simpsons, the principal in The Simpsons.
Mother.
Mother.
Mother, I
Principal Seymour Skinner.
I'm
Seymour
supposed to
Skinner.
go and I'm supposed to go, take care of some Vietnamese gangsters, but your cooking is so good. Give me a hug.
That's
Shocking.
a really good impression of him.
Thank you. I do good impressions. That's what I'm known for mostly. Impressions, voices, accents. That's what I'm here for.
Like what?
Like here is my impression.
Of Slaton going on with the story?
Yep. Shockingly, rather than close ranks,
Oh, that's really good.
David Ty began to
is.
move Tim up the ladder.
Holy shit, we should get Slaton to do that.
Even
agree.
inviting the young man to his home to see his growing collection of homemade bombs and silencers.
Snap.
He was given more responsibility to organize robberies.
This is Tim, the guy
Tim,
that's
yep.
wearing the wire now.
Yep. All of which miraculously fell apart. Luckily, David had grown superstitious in his old age of 35.
Luckily, he grew superstitious.
Not suspicious, superstitious.
Superstitious.
Yes.
Superstitious.
Yeah,
Very
but not the same thing as suspicious.
superstitious.
I said superstitious.
Yeah, that's luckily for them.
Yeah.
Because he blamed every single failure on bad luck. As
And
on
not
the
Tim.
on like the whatever calendar. I don't know if it's a zodiac because it's not Chinese, but
Oh, yeah.
on the calendar, this was his birth year, and he considered it to be bad luck.
Oh, yeah.
So all these failed robberies, he's like, it's my birth year. It's just bad luck. I can't.
So the cops are doing all these flimsy excuses to build a case of you didn't pay your parking tickets. It's kind of like the
cops keep interrupting
Capone
every
thing.
robbery before it happens.
Yeah.
And letting them off with like slaps on the wrist, and they go, "Oh yeah, I guess the judge wouldn't work on Mother's Day." And that's not, of course they let us go.
Why are they doing that? Because they want to build it big enough to where they
they're
can
trying
just...
to build a case and
Yeah.
nail David Ty specifically.
Yeah.
And they need it to keep stringing out and get like more recordings of David.
Right.
But they also don't want to expose, because remember, on every one of these robberies, Tim is on the robbery.
Yeah, yeah.
So they don't want to expose their CI and blow the whole investigation up.
There's CI, what does that stand for?
Confidential informant.
Okay, CI, the confidential informant. That's their guy. That's their agent that's
That's
in
their
there.
That's Tim.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I know Tim. We
So
all
they-
know Tim now.
So they keep on being like, "Oh, you know why we stopped you was because you had a tail light out, and we found a bunch of Uzis in here with blood on them. But it's probably pig's blood, so you guys can go along."
So David didn't go that's kind of weird. They just let us go. Like he's
No,
the
he-
smart guy that built a crime
He's
empire. It's not-
superstitious, though.
No,
That's what Rich
David
just
went.
said.
David went, man. It must be the way the dice fell today.
We
I-
lucking out.
I walked past a tree and the leaves were yellow, which means that trouble's coming.
Winter
so that's
is
probably
coming.
that's
Oh,
probably the
man.
problem.
Superstition's always so good. It really helps life out to be superstitious.
In August of 1991, David Ty's luck finally ran out. He was arrested at home in his boxers along with 10 members of BTK.
How? Why?
They built the case.
They built the case.
They built the case, Baldy.
We're about to go there.
Okay.
Just hanging out in his boxers, a gangster with all his friends over. I miss those days. I used to
Yeah.
live like that too.
I still do.
I don't.
They at one point, I love this. At one point, they got wind that David was planning to blow up a restaurant because one of the restaurant owner had been quoted in the paper using his real name, saying something about how BTK was like kind of a problem, and so they intercepted 2 teenagers carrying like on the way to blow it up.
Yeah.
And the teenagers had like a shopping bag with them, and in it was a glass jar with an improvised explosive inside. The jar was filled with nails. And
Why would you do that?
When they took it from them, the 2 guys were like, "We had no idea there was a bomb in this bag." What?
It's not our bomb.
Seriously, I thought I was just carrying, like shoes or something.
Oh, it's brutal. The nail part is just like the scariest because that's how you make it more destructive and you rip people to shreds. It's just fucking evil.
With Tim No,
It's a solid plan, though.
With Tim No on their side, investigators had an easy time getting other members to turn state's evidence. On top of that, the merchants of Chinatown, no longer fearing BTK retaliation, were happy to testify as well. For once, the Chinese gangs had no problem with locals talking to the police.
Why? Because they're like, we're gonna wipe out our competition right now.
Getting rid
Fuck
of the
these
BTK,
people.
Yeah.
So they broke their own rule though because as a group, they probably voted on it at their gangster congress.
Yeah, the Chinese gangs were like, you know what? You can
Big
talk to me this
picture.
time.
See the forest through the trees.
All in favor. Just say aye.
Oi.
Yeah.
That sounds like a room of Chinese gangsters.
Oi.
Yes. Oi, mate.
Oi. All right.
At trial, David Tai tried to represent himself and BTK as a charitable group that helped out Vietnamese refugees.
Was he representing himself?
No, he wasn't. I realize now as I say that
It
language
does
is confusing.
sound like that he didn't have
tried
a
to
lawyer.
portray himself.
Yeah.
He wore a pink suit.
They
he
had
smiled.
a lawyer.
He had a lawyer, but he tried to portray
Was it a
himself.
public defendant?
No, he had money.
This guy's rich.
I don't know.
Public defenders for regular people.
So he tried to
Hell
portray
yeah.
himself and BTK as a charitable group to help Vietnamese refugees, claiming that his biggest crime was simply making fake watches and selling them without a license.
And honestly, you could appeal to people's emotions that way.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Look,
yeah,
if
what's
it's
the
a
big deal?
crime to give people what they want by, making up fake watches and wallets, then, lock me up.
David Tai and a number of BTK members were convicted on numerous counts, including racketeering, conspiracy to commit murder, and 13 other charges. David was given multiple life sentences without the chance of parole.
Oh, he's
man.
locked the fuck down,
Now,
David.
as a side note, I didn't get into the actual poem, but right when he goes in, this pamphlet, this little magazine appeared all over Canal Street and at Vietnamese places all around that had a bunch of ads in it and selections of David Tai's poetry. He wrote a bunch of I'm a locked up revolutionary style poetry and distributed around town. But
Roses
he's
are
still
red,
in-
violets are blue. Please don't send me to jail for all the crime I committed against you, society.
That's nice.
Right?
That's a good rhyme.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
That's a good rhyme for
So, Baldinger,
crime. Yes.
Today's sources include Born to Kill, The Rise and Fall of America's Bloodiest Asian Gang by T.J. English, making his second appearance as an author on this show. He also wrote the books for our live episode.
thank you, TJ.
T.J. English really killing it.
you the man.
If you have Scribd, you can find all his books on there, too. That's where I found them. They are fantastic. The New York Times, and, of course, the Evil Robots at Wikipedia. We also want to take this moment to thank again our sponsor, Studio Headphones. Go to studio.com, use that promo code CRiiiME with 3 eyes, get 15% off all your headphone needs. I like the Regent, the big on ear ones. I also like the Tray, which I use every single day instead of those Apple earbuds.
I've had the trays since they gave them to us a while ago,
Yeah,
and they're
the
amazing.
Tray
They're
is
great.
the shit. So, the Regent, the Tray, a bunch of great stuff. It's Swedish, so it looks super cool.
Looks Swedish,
It sounds
bro.
great. The batteries last a long time.
So long.
Go get that shit. CRiiiME with 3 eyes, 15% off. Hit those dudes up.
Guys, thank you so much for Patreon.
Oh,
5-star reviews have been out of this world.
That's on iTunes. Hit those iTunes reviews for us. They help out a ton. Patreon, jump on. You get stickers, and that's super fun.
Oh
So
my
hit
God,
up.
Sticker of the Month Club is so much fun.
And you might even hear one from this particular episode that we talked about earlier. So go ahead and get it. And you can follow our good friend Jeffrey Baldinger on the interwebs at
Jeff Baldinger.
Baldinger.
Yep.
Spelled exactly what you think it is, but with one L, not two. It's not Baldinger, it's Baldinger.
Baldinger.
Baldinger, which is exactly how it goes. You can follow us on all social medias at CRiiiMEPOD. You can also email the show with any questions, comments, story ideas, dick pics, label those for Shefsky.
Thank you.
CRiiMEpodcast@gmail.com. 1 eye or 3 on that crime there. That's your choice this, son. Thanks, everybody, for those 5-star ratings and reviews. They are super duper helpful. We love them so much. And Shefsky has one from someone we just met at CriiiME.
Oh, Emily Copper. Funniest podcast I've ever heard. 5 stars. Oh, this is very sweet. I'm going to blush and feel weird.
Do it in your Vietnamese accent.
Okay. I met these guys at
No,
CriiiME.
no. That's not a Vietnamese accent.
What?
I want a real Vietnamese accent.
Oui. I met these guys at CriiiME. I had heard of their podcast, but hadn't yet listened. They were friendly and funny, and I genuinely like them. So I downloaded some episodes for my 13-hour drive home. My sister and I laughed so hard and so consistently for 13 hours. We almost didn't make the trip. We almost didn't want the trip to end. This has jumped up to my favorite podcast of all time. Keep up the great work, guys.
E. Cooper, you keep up the great reviews.
That is one of the sweetest, most genuine reviews I've ever heard
made
in my
our
life.
fucking
That
day.
is
The
so
Cooper sisters
sweet.
are badass.
They
So
are-
cool.
That's amazing. You
Or
send
is it
them,
Copper?
send them,
It's the Copper.
Is it Copper?
Send them
Yeah, the
some
Copper
free stu-
sisters.
Send
Yeah.
them some free stuff.
They already got buttons. They got stickers.
Send them
Are we
more
gonna give
To
them
us,
stickers?
that's us sending free stuff.
Send them more buttons. Send them more stickers.
All right, on behalf of Baldinger, we'll send you more stuff. We love you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone at CriiiME. Thank you so much. It was such an amazing experience. We had a fucking blast. We can't wait for next year in New Orleans. Keep an eye out. There'll be a new Crime Live coming sometime this summer, probably from the Comedy Store again.
Oh, I can't wait.
So we're super pumped about
the most
that.
fun.
Dates
Hey,
will be
when's
coming
this
out for
thing
that
coming
soon.
out?
Very, very soon.
Very soon.
Yeah.
I'm going to be in Edinburgh and all over Europe starting in July.
You're doing the
All
Edinburgh
right.
Festival?
I'm doing the Edinburgh Festival. I'm doing shows in London. I'm doing shows in Paris, Germany, Prague, and then in August I'm going to be doing my own show in Edinburgh for the festival.
Awesome.
Hell to the yeah.
Go see Baldinger in Europe, guys.
And we'll see you soon. Bye, Robot.
Bye, guys.
Love
Peace.
you.
Mwah.
Thank
Love you
you.
guys. Support Homeboy Industries.